So 12:31, we'll call this meeting to order.
Commissioners have had the opportunity to review the agenda and have no conflicts requiring recusal or abstention. Commissioner McPherson?
Yes.
Commissioner RCOC?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry? Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
At this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence recognizing Martin Luther King, which was last Monday. Pause for a moment and respect what he did and how we recognize him.
Is now joining.
Thank you. Item number the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? No discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved. Item number 4, public comments. Is there anybody here wishing to speak under public comment? It does look like we have one person here that signed a sheet here. Gerard Simoni, I believe. Is that correct? And what brings you in today? And hang on 1 second. 3 minutes. Go ahead, Mr. Simoni.
Discuss snow plowing, Waddles Road between Adams and Squirrel. I live on Squirrel Road. I'm a Bloomfield Township resident. And I've been for 15 years, and it's been problematic. I mean, I don't expect to be the first, but I don't like to be the last. And I've lived in cities, Detroit, Warren, Birmingham. If we have a problem, we call the city. I call the city, and they say, no, this road is Oakland County, and it gets pretty complicated. And I don't like this, treat like a hot potato. So, but if things were done timely, and again, I don't mean...
Is now joining.
No. There's compassion, but 2 days later is not right. And it's a 2-lane road, Waddles, and I've pushed a few cars since I lived there. I can't do that. All I'm asking is that if this is a county function, then I don't want to be the first or the last. That's all I'm asking. But it's not done time.
So when it snows, they don't get out there for...
My grandson
Is now joining.
we leave across Adams in Detroit, and it's wet and salted, night and day, like Birmingham and other cities. That's all. It's so noticeable, and I don't know how we got this unwanted position of having the county do our roads instead of the city. We pay taxes, a lot of taxes. Bloomfield Township, for some reason, says, no, you need to call the county. And, we can do it, but who wants to do that dance? I mean, it's just, there's an expectation. I'm not saying there's big problems in the world. I get it, but this has been ongoing. As I said,
And you called the road commission, and they called you back on that?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They always do. That's all I have to say.
But what was their answer to you, though, on it?
Answer it. And they do eventually, but 2 days later is not efficient. They're not going to tell me that the crews are elsewhere. They're not going to tell me that there's equipment malfunctions or there's a shortage of help. I don't know the reason.
I don't believe any of them are the scenario,
Okay, well, again, I don't even want the scenario. I'd rather call the house. Just to say, this is going on, this is going on, pavement or snow. Because that's what I think is the default position. Call your city. But for some reason, I mean, Troy's in Oakland County. They take care of their own. Bloomfield's in Oakland County. And that may be an unnecessary labor for the county. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how we got in this position. But it's an unwanted position. I live in the city, I call the city.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wanting to speak under public discussion? None being, I move that we close it. Item number 5, minutes of the January 8th, 2026 meeting. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes? Any corrections or anything? I need a motion.
So move.
It's been moved. It's been supported. During discussion. No discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Item number 6, disbursements. A and B. I need a motion. Is there a motion to approve the disbursements? Have you reviewed them and looked at them? So move. So moved and supported. I have a question on 2, actually. Or 3. The first one is 61452 and 6B, page 1. 614, it's Cito Industries for building maintenance for $4,700.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that.
And then the next one is on the same page, second from the bottom. 515617, Adler's Service Inc.,
Yep.
outside equipment repair. What was that?
Adler's is a towing service. Sometimes we use them when we don't have someone available or our tow trucks are already busy elsewhere. Obviously, with all the snow we've had, we've been going around the clock for almost a month. And we use them on a as needed basis.
We have 2 new tow trucks,
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah, and we have mechanics that are trained to run those. However, they're not always available. And sometimes at the, judgment call of the superintendent, he'd rather have them fixing the equipment than towing it. So it kind of depends on where the storm.
Okay. Do we have enough help other mechanic-wise or operators to drive the wrecker, or?
We have mechanics. We'll be asking for more mechanics shortly, probably at the next meeting. So right now we have several that are off on a leave of absence for medical or other reasons. So we've been hard pressed, even with all the new trucks we have. We still have a lot of new drivers that aren't too easy on the trucks. So we're working on it.
All right, thank you. I know we have the new records. I just questioned that.
Yeah.
And then I have one more for Cool Systems Commercial. Capital outlay of $37,000. That's on page 2 of 2.
Okay, that is HVAC, but I will check into exactly the location for you. I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Is that was like a service call or was it?
No, that's a replacement, so it would have been, I'm guessing Cool Systems. It's another company doing business as Cool Systems because that doesn't ring a bell with me, but a lot of times we'll do that, bill under one name and work under another, so.
I've never seen that one before.
Yeah,
So.
I'll send you an email tomorrow.
All right. Is there any other questions with bills to be paid? Oh. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? First and third, A and B. Item number 7.
We can do A and B, Mr. Chairman. It's recommended the board approve the permits and adopt the road applications as submitted by staff.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll go on to item 8.
Recommend board adopt the resolution for the retirement accommodation for Ricky White.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Is Ricky here?
He is not.
Okay, so, he's been on the board for 25 years?
Yep,
Out of what garage?
it's retired out of Davisburg.
Okay. All right, and we got a replacement already for him?
I mean, I got replaced 25 years. So that's gonna take a while, but no, we just hired. We did 12
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
Now, did he, give us notice, or he just retired out of the blue? or-
He gave us notice. Yeah, everybody has to give us for retirement. How many days is it? 45 days.
And then he's having a retirement party, Friday, I think? Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Is now
You're right.
joining.
Carries. Okay, item number, 9.
We can do A through I, Mr. Chairman. It's recommended board adopt the resolution accepting the deeds of easements as recorded.
Is there any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 10.
Do A and B, it's recommended board adopt the resolutions accepting the road right of way for Devonshire 2 and Meadows of Lyme.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any, discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11.
Recommended board approve the contract authorization with mobile screening and crushing.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? So this is,
Is now
Con-
exiting.
that we pull up and then we process ourselves?
It's, well, it's not, it's a two-part contract. One is concrete, and then one is from bituminous, where contractors are dropping the millings off in our garage, and then we're just getting it crushed and screened down to a 21 AA gradation.
They bring a mobile unit in?
Yep, they bring a mobile unit in, they go from garage to garage. Typically, if you go to the Southfield garage, they have the largest pile.
Okay, then we use that for,
We'll use that to stabilize shoulders. A lot of times we'll use it in the spring on gravel roads that become very soft during the frost part. It doesn't have the clay, so it stabilizes the roads better than, you can't put gravel down. It's just gonna make it soupier. This actually stabilizes the roads.
so it's different than, like slag and,
Well, it's a bituminous mixture that's crushed, yes. So slag is a much finer.
Yeah.
And actually slag will absorb moisture.
all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number, 12, A and B.
Recommended board approve the project task orders with Anderson Extra.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13.
Receive bids for our 2026 tree removals. Countywide, recommended board award it to Urban Tree Trimming.
For support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? This is, for the trees that are bigger than,
No,
36 inches? No?
this is different. This is for upcoming projects that we have to take down trees at a certain time of the year because of the Indiana bat, the long-eared bat, and oak wilt. Did I miss anything?
You got it. Nailed it.
And Have we ever done this in-house before, or?
No. Our forestry folks are busy every day. And this is targeted because it has to be done at a time of year that we might even be called out in winter maintenance operations. We need those guys to drive truck.
All right, is there any other discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 14,
Supervisor Board approved my deal purchase from Dell Marketing for our computer equipment replacement.
for support.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Like the different areas, because I know like maybe a few months ago we had a similar, is this a different department or?
No, this is the same. We buy them in usually twice a year. We split up, so we don't have enough room in our IT department to hold all of them. So we buy a set when he distributes them, and once those are distributed, then we buy the second batch. So just buy them in 2 batches because we just don't have the room for them all.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, non-being, motion carried. Item number 15,
Recommend the board approve the traffic control order.
it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? So are these state of the art? Or are these older model systems, or?
This is a new traffic signal that's being installed at the intersection of Pontiac Trail and Walnut Lake Road. This is just a traffic control order recognizing that we're installing it.
But it's the ones we have over already built, ready to go?
It's gonna be part of our adaptive traffic signal system.
Any other discussion? Nope. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16,
Recommend the board refer the litigation to the legal department.
been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
You have these in the house?
Yeah.
So when we get notified of this, they come here, serve the resident agent or counsel?
Well, depending on the situation, it can be served by mail. Obviously, the court rules dictate how entities, including government entities, get served. But sometimes we are served in person, sometimes we are served.
And they can serve any one of us too, right? If that happens, we just notify you?
Timely and promptly, because the clock starts ticking the minute summons get signed.
All right.
Who's he opposing? Representation of this?
Somebody I had not heard of before, or we've ever worked before. I don't work, I could certainly give you a copy of that. But we'll, respond with a motion to dismiss, because it's outside of the travel portion of the roadway. We don't have liability if it's outside of the travel portion.
In the past, have any commissioners ever been served, or?
There's my, we try to make sure that doesn't happen, but there's specific statutory hoops that they have to just resolve this notice.
Okay. Oh, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None being, motion carries. Item number 17.
Engineering report.
What was that? I don't see the red line on there.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Okay, there you go.
thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam Pitzer. I'm the Director of Engineering, and I'm here to talk about, introduce to you an overview of the Engineering Department. It's at a high level of what the Engineering Department does. We deliver road and bridge projects. Here's a picture of before and after of the Avon to Quinder intersection that was constructed in 2022. Quite a heavy lift from all different perspectives, from programming, right-of-way design, and construction, especially in terms of what you see the Clinton River and the parks nearby, and then the Yates Cider Mill also right there. So in general, the engineering department is responsible for delivering the road improvement program. It consists of 5 divisions: the programming division, the design division, right-of-way division, the construction division, and the subdivision improvement and development division. We'll go give a high-level overview of the responsibilities of each division. So in general, the programming division, led by Mike Smith, is responsible for project scoping, budgeting, and securing funding for all of our projects in the road improvement program. In addition to that, the programming division is also responsible for bridge management. So in general, we have over 400 structures that we manage, and we inventory them by both 2 types, Type A and Type B structures. So Type B structures are anything between a 5-foot diameter and just under 20 feet in diameter, or diameter spans, sorry. Type A structures are any span greater than 20 feet. And Type A structures are essentially are overseen by the Federal Highway Administration and MDOT. So there's a lot of inspection requirements and due diligence that we have to go through in managing the Type A bridge inventory. But in general, we manage both types, Type B and Type A, in terms of inspection and oversight, the same. Also, we support Brad's planning division in performing PACER evaluations every year throughout the county. And we also help both planning and finance in putting together the Act 51 certification reports. But in general, the big lift and big part of that is securing funding. A lot of our projects have funding sources from a variety of different pots, both including our own MTS Act 51 monies. There's also a variety of grant monies, local cost shares, as well as federal funding sources. The other aspect of the programming division is that they're also responsible for managing the tri-party program. So in talking about securing funding for projects and the tri-party program, a lot of things that come to this agenda that you have seen in the past are MDOT contracts, cost sharing agreements, or tri-party agreements. That all comes out of the programming division. Next is the design division, and they're responsible for the design development, coordinating with communities and permitting agencies for each individual project that we go through. And when we say design development, I'm going to simplify it even in 3 slides, because sometimes when I say design development, even that sounds simple. But it starts with a project after it's been identified. Here's an intersection where we're talking about potential. Oh,
Moving them out.
Sorry. This is actually Elizabeth Lake Road, and we did construct the roundabout, but in the earlier stages, we first start with the overall geometry. Think of it in 2-dimensional. I don't want to say pencil and paper because it's computerized and not pencil and paper. But after that, becomes three-dimensional to us. So when we reconstruct either an intersection or a road, we turn those 2D lines into a three-dimensional model. And then next comes, especially when we do a road reconstruction, we have to consider underground utilities. So this is an example of some underground utilities depicted in three dimensions with our three-dimensional model. So there's a lot going on before, during, and after just within these three-dimensional models, but just to give you a flavor of what the design division goes through for each of our projects, especially as it pertains to our big reconstruction projects. But in addition to the design, they're also responsible for collaborating with our traffic safety, with multiple departments, not just our traffic safety department, especially as it pertains to maintenance of traffic plans or new signal installations at various intersections. We work closely with the traffic safety department, as well as Brad's planning and environmental departments. Environmental works closely with them hand in hand so that we can get our necessary permits through EGLE. But throughout the design process, we also hold public informational meetings. So we work closely with every community, whether it's township, city, or village. If we have a planned project, we hold kickoff meetings early on at the beginning with each community to let them know that this project is coming, and it also gives them any opportunity to identify any concerns or pain points that they're aware of at that location. And during that design process, they're also identifying right-of-way impacts. So any impacts that's outside of our right-of-way where our project may influence. And that's where our right-of-way division comes in, led by Linda Dembeck. They work hand in hand with our design division to help obtain and acquire the necessary right-of-way for our projects. So first, after the right-of-way impacts have been identified, one of the first steps is putting together an appraisal for each of the impacts. So we do have an in-house appraiser that performs those appraisals. We are supported by outside appraisers as well, partly due to the number of appraisals required for each right-of-way take. So throughout this process, we also work closely with our legal department to ensure that we're crossing all of our T's and dotting all of our I's throughout this process, especially also because our right-of-way takes, whether it's a temporary easement or a highway easement or a total take, there's a lot of state and federal regulations that we have to follow. So we have to make sure we're making sure that we're doing everything as required. Next, after the design has been done, the engineering plans have been compiled, and the right-of-way has been acquired, those projects then go to the construction division. And the division head for that one is currently vacant and filling that spot as we speak. We're going through that process to fill that. But they're responsible for the construction engineering and overall quality assurance on all of our construction projects. So quality assurance, as it pertains to construction, there's part of that is inspection, monitoring the contractor crews, ensuring the appropriate workmanship, but also part of that is sampling and testing of our material. All of the material that goes into the ground that's applied on all of our projects are samples necessary. And sometimes some materials don't require testing, but we make sure that there's appropriate material certifications associated with that. And that's all required by Title 23 of our Code of Federal Regulations. Something to note in terms of project acceptance, we do have projects that are required to go under warranty as required by the state. So our construction division also follows the projects after they've been accepted to ensure that to follow along. If any projects are under warranty and need necessary repair or revisits, they work with the contractor to come back out for those necessary fixes or repairs. And as part of it, all of our federal aid projects are open to audit by MDOT. And so at the end of every construction season, and even throughout every construction season, our engineers and our inspectors are working with MDOT to ensure that all of our project records are complete and accurate. Some examples of some of the things and some of the lists that we go through in construction. Here's an example of last year project on Clarkson Road. It's not all, when they think of a road reconstruct, they might think it's pretty straightforward, cut and dry. It's just asphalt on the ground. But here's an example on Clarkson Road where we used tire-derived aggregate, or I call it shredded tire, where we replaced a lot of the subbase and put the tire-derived aggregate in place. One of our another unique project that we went through on Clarkson Road. Another example, this is our Wise Road bridge replacement over the Huron River. This was also completed last year. Just wanted to give you an example of some of the things that we ask that our engineers and inspectors go through as they inspect and monitor construction activities for both quality and safety. Especially with respect to bridge replacements, there's often a lot of crane work or heavy equipment around, so safety is of paramount. And here we have them placing precast elements over the foundations over the Huron River. And then just something to note, all of our Type A structures, after our bridge replacements are done, we do put up new bridge plates that identify the commissioners as well as the managing director and the county highway engineer after it's been completed. Next within the engineering department is the SID department or division, or the Subdivision Improvement and Development Division. And they're responsible for administering our SID program and overseeing all the new developments that go on. Now, with respect to the SID program, we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail at a subsequent board meeting on March 12th. We'll walk through all the processes and the details of that program itself. The other part of the SID division is the new developments. So developers who are interested or are required to essentially make their newly developed constructive roads a public road, largely within the township. They not only have to work with the township, but they also have to work with us to get the necessary approvals throughout both their design process and their construction process.
Is now joining.
And that was my presentation. Are there any questions?
Staffing with engineers, are we off the bar? Are we short? We have too many?
Never have too many. With respect to engineers, we do have a few vacancies. We do have 4 engineering vacancies within the engineering department.
And do we have an incentive to make it more attractive for them to come here? Or?
We did that with the compensation study. That was part of the reason behind the compensation study. One of the problems is there's not a lot of civil engineering graduates. The numbers are down. We have a development program, and hopefully one of Sam's spots will be filled by one of those engineers in our development program.
Okay, and then you had a question?
You go ahead.
I had one more. On the average construction project with the roads, how much of that is engineering? 20%? Off 15, 30? The cost of a project on average? How much cost is engineering, would you say? Or do we have something like that set up? Or?
In general, a good rule of thumb if we took the total construction value, good rule of thumb for at least preliminary engineering, where the design phase of a project is typically 10% of that. And then once we start rolling into the construction elements, construction phase of it, the rule of thumb is 15% of the total construction value.
So average 10 to 15%, just like any other trade, yeah. So go ahead.
So I know it was mentioned in one of the meetings with the County Code Association and budget about the advanced acquisition for right-of-way. That issue with FHWA, like apparently you have to get some type of environmental clearance and that impacts the timing. And so I'm just curious, you know, at a glance, you would think that would only impact Linda's role with right-of-way, but it seems like that would impact programming and design. So I'm curious if internally, I know that the CRA has a committee on it, but are we talking about that internally on how we can strategize and try to avoid delays? Because I know it has to do with like the funding, the money has to be spent within this time, but if it's going to take longer to get the right of way, that impacts our planning. So is that something that we're, you know, internally having a conversation about?
Absolutely. So I think we were first made aware of this new guideline rule, I think I want to say mid-summer time. And since then we've been working, all of us, a number of us have been talking together, working together to see how we can, what we can do so we don't lose that opportunity in terms of funding. So it does both impact both Brad's group from the environmental and his environmental concerns division, as well as our right-of-way group. And we have been working and talking about this quite a bit. And I think we've talked with other road commissions, other counties, other local municipalities to see how they're approaching this. But one of our strategies right now, at least in the short term, that we've trying to get ahead of it. So as an example, some of the work and some of the task orders that was on this agenda or our last agenda was trying to get ahead of some of that. So working on projects aimed in 2027, 2028, as an example, because getting the environmental approvals in advance of starting right-of-way acquisition, that the environmental approval process can take a very long time.
Well, that's just good to know that we're like having that conversation internally, because that seems like that could really throw us off as far as being able to start the project in time.
These conversations about going to our congressmen and U.S. senators too. But this is coming down from federal highway. Part of that, one of the issues, we're not getting a lot of direction from federal highway out of Lansing. It's because there's new people there, others are retired, but we're not getting a response from federal highway out of Lansing, so.
We have spoken with the director of MDOT as well about this too, so it's all the way at top. MDOT is aware of this.
You have any other questions, Tony? Jim, you had a question?
Sam, thank you. Well done. Question, the shredded tires, just curiosity, how does that hold up?
Well, hopefully well.
I know.
How is it cost effective?
So this was used on a short segment of the road, but to extrapolate that out to, you know, a typical road project on, let's say, a mile road, this was maybe. So this wasn't that big of a stretch in terms of where this was applied. So I couldn't say in terms of replacing it, using this on a larger road project would be, but I think from a cost perspective on a site like this, it wasn't too much, too big.
Was it significant? No.
It was poor soil, so that's a way to almost kind of float the road, right?
Correct. That's right. The interest in using the tire-derived aggregate in this scenario on this project was to account for the poor soils and the environmental conditions that surround the road.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for the engineering department from us? All in favor to accept as read, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18, presentations.
Yep, we have Ken Graham from Hubbell and Clark and Chuck Hart. Be talking about costs of, we remodeled this building and a new building for the front of Waterford.
Is now exiting.
Just press something. Who want to move up and down?
Page up, page down.
Okay, thank you for having me today. I'm Jane Graham from Hubble, Roth and Clark. I'm an architect, and I've been working with RCOC on your facility needs for more than 30 years. I look at that timeline on the wall over there. I'm in almost that entire timeline. So I've been here a few times before, but just to share with you that I've got quite a lot of background and have worked with every director in this room to come up with different options for buildings and spaces. I'd like to go over the 2 renovation studies that have been done that were in your board package. There's one for Beverly Hills, which is this building, and then there's another one for the PBR Center offices located in Waterford. All the directors and MDO staff present in this room right now work in one of those 2 locations. So let's start with the Beverly Hills location. That's where we are right now. And that's the aerial that we have on the screen here. This building is approximately 56 years old. It's a 2-story structure with a full basement. Okay, down. Here's our full basement where we are right now. Then you've got 1st and 2nd floors. Major repair work that has been done in this building in particular occurred back in 2015. The roof was replaced. We made structural repairs to the wood roof trusses, which I'll get into a little bit later. And then we also had to upsize the roof drain piping because it couldn't handle all the water from the roof. And then your sewer wasn't large enough either to take that water from the roof. So in this back corner over here, we installed a new 12-inch storm sewer to help take that flow away from the building. The building framing here, the 1st floor is masonry block, and then it's got a brick exterior. That's a load-bearing exterior wall. But the 2nd floor is 2x4 wood studs that are supported by the masonry. And then you've got wood roof trusses and a 3/4-inch plywood roof deck. So you kind of got a combination of masonry construction here and 2x4 wood construction. Now, RCOC has reported that the basement has flooded in the past, and I'm aware of it flooding back in like 2014. That was one of the reasons why we separated the roof drains and put in that new sewer over in the corner here. But it has also flooded since then, and that's so important to you guys because you need the square footage down here. You've had damage in this space. You've lost a lot of records. They got damp and had to be thrown out. And with the basement, maybe it's more clear in your package, you've got a lot of plumbing under the floor here. You've got 2 sanitary sewers that go out of here. You've got a storm sewer out the backside, which is that corner over here. You've got a perimeter drain system around the outside of the foundation. And then you've got numerous underdrain systems underneath this floor. And something is plugged or collapsed. Otherwise, this basement wouldn't be flooding. If we were to renovate this space, 56 years old, there's some remediation that needs to be done. That's not uncommon. So that's something that would be included should we do a renovation. But another thing we have to address here at this facility is your parking lot. The parking lot sewer infrastructure is deteriorated
and so is the pavement. You've made some repairs out there already. You know you've got bad subgrade, and if we want to do a renovation here, we can't ignore the parking lot. That's going to have to be addressed. The other dilemma with this site is you're landlocked. That's your property right there. You've got a screen wall around the outside. You're parked to the north, you're parked to the west, you got the building to the east, and you got the road to the south. You're stuck here unless you had the opportunity to acquire more property, because we can't make the building any larger and lose parking spaces. We don't even have enough parking out here right now. I think Chuck and I got the last 2 visitor spaces that we've got. So you're kind of, you know, you're landlocked, like I said, and it would be beautiful to add on a little bit of space right here on the building, but we really can't afford to lose the parking. And as I mentioned before, we talked about the sanitary and storm sewer in the basement. You've also got 2 water mains that come in over on this side over here. We mentioned those utilities already. For mechanical heating and cooling, see if I don't screw this up. For mechanical heating and cooling, this building is served by several indoor furnaces, which are in a room right back here. Outdoor condensers that are on the back side over here. You've got 4 HVAC rooftop units. There's no central control for the heating and cooling in this building. And that's because the original design of this was for tenant spaces. There were several tenants in this building, and each one had their own electrical, they had their own HVAC systems. And when RCOC moved in, it was left like that. That brings us to item number 11, which is the electrical power. Believe it or not, there are 5 electrical services that come to this building. And again, it was left like that when you moved in, and it was set up for the tenants that worked under a lease operation. You also don't have a backup generator here. I believe you've got backup generators on every single building except this one. And this is your headquarters. That would be very important. We need a generator here. You do have a fire alarm and a sprinkler system. You see the heads in here. That was installed in 2005, so it is not as old as this building. And that plays into my recommendations a little bit farther into our report here. And the elevator back here behind me, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, that is so small. Can we do something with that? It's, you know, guys, it's a 1956 5x5 or 4x6 elevator. It's very small, and it's got a masonry shaft around it right here that goes all the way up through the 2nd floor. So now let's talk about some challenges to the renovations. And the reason we list these challenges is you have to consider the costs in the renovation in order to get a real picture of what it would take to do something within this building. As I mentioned before, a renovation here is not going to provide footprint expansion for you because you don't have it on this site. So we can't grow the departments here, and the building and parking lot, again, are not even large enough to accommodate what we have today. Again, a generator needs to be added to this building. Oops, going in the wrong direction. If you put a generator, it needs to be right here because that's where your electrical service comes in. It's on this back wall here. If I put a generator over here, how many parking spaces did I just take? I think I took about 6. And I also cut off your drive aisle. So again, it's a square footage thing. But you need a generator here, so where am I gonna put it? It's impractical to renovate this building also and keep everyone in place. And, you know, we looked at a lot of different scenarios. Could you renovate just one floor, you know, take 40 or 50 people out of here? But it comes back to this whole basement floor slab needs to be removed to get after that bed plumbing. So that's a disruption. It's really not possible or practical, I should say, to shut off power, water, or sanitary to any one particular area of this building. For example, all your restrooms are stacked on top of one another. So let's say I'm going to work on the restroom down here. and I need to cut up the plumbing, well, that means I can't flush the toilets on the other 2 floors either. So logistically, you really want to move everybody out of here if you want to do something with this space. And then, if I'm a contractor and I'm trying to share this parking lot with some number of employees, there's really no room to do that. The contractor needs room to have a trailer, have material laydown space. One of the things we're recommending is a replacement of the perimeter drain system and waterproofing the basement, because remember, the space here is very important to you. That means I'm excavating all the way around the outside of the building here. So that's even less space. So you really need to be thinking, you need to move out of here. You need to move out of here on a temporary basis. And so moving out of here also factors into our cost estimate, because that's money you're going to spend and it doesn't contribute to the renovation. It doesn't say, hey, moving out temporarily and coming back is adding, X value of dollars to this building. But to move you out of here, these are some of the things we need. A temporary work area that has to have public parking and public access for meetings like this. We need a reception counter with some sort of security measures, just like you've got upstairs. We need a big room like this for board meetings. And then data, IT, and communications has to be brought, at least on a temporary basis, to that location. And how that happens, if it's wireless or how that gets worked out, because your operations need to continue. And so, whatever communication you've got here has to go to that temporary rental space. And then another consideration, and we found this during the 2015 renovation, after you got the inside of this building and you start looking at those wood roof trusses, we had to make a lot of truss repairs in 2015. We reinforced them with steel plates, and we reinforced the bearing points on the north walls. I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't additional truss repairs required on the south wall, and then there's a bearing wall like right through the center here. And you're not really going to know the impact of that till you take down these ceilings and look at it. So, all that can be fixed, but again, it's a cost that we want to have in our calculation, just so we don't overlook it. And then I would love to make the elevator larger, but that is a masonry shaft, and the trusses are actually bearing on the masonry shaft. Now, we can do anything for the right budget, but practically speaking, it would be quite costly to make the elevator larger, because I have to make the shaft bigger, which means I'm now cutting off trusses and resupporting them. Again, that can be done, but is it practical? You've got to consider, is that practical? And then the number of restroom fixtures in the basement here, I don't know if you're aware of this. For example, there's one fixture in the ladies' room. So if I've got a meeting down here with, maybe 30 or 40 people, it's practically speaking, the bathrooms aren't large enough. They might meet the minimum code requirement. 1 or 2 fixtures for a big public meeting, it's not sufficient. So some of our recommendations follow. Is a renovation possible? Absolutely. But we need to consider the following. Site work. Again, parking lot needs to be replaced. The sewers under the parking lot need to be replaced. Let's make some repairs to the masonry screen wall. The screen wall goes all the way around the property. It's several lineal 100 feet long. If you're going to do a nice job on this building, let's make sure the screen wall looks good too. And then this site, we're going to bring a generator in here. It should be natural gas, not diesel, so you're not having to handle fuel on this property. But if I bring a natural gas generator in here, I need to bring in a large gas line also. You don't have a gas line big enough for this building to suit a new generator. Then for the building itself, remember, we're going to relocate our office staff so the contractor can just get in here and renovate everything. Part of his work is going to be removing the entire basement floor slab. Again, excavate the perimeter, get at those footing drains, replace them, replace the underdrain system underneath this floor. Let's get some waterproofing and drainage board on the outside of this basement, because again, this needs to be usable space. In a new floor plan, this is gonna be something, maybe the boardroom is still down here, but we need to expand into these other areas to give you some more elbow room in this building. So the basic cannot be wet. What we would do for the interior is remove the drywall, ceilings, strip it down to the studs basically. Try and optimize the floor areas to the best of our ability. Right now, this building, second and first floor, have a bunch of hard walls. And that's basically the arrangement of the tenant space when you guys bought the building. The only rooms that have been significantly changed that I'm aware of are finance. And you might have taken, I think you took some doors and stuff down back here. But see how boxy it is? There's a lot of corridor space. We could do much better with this floor plan than having all these hard walls in place. Another component of our renovation would be, we're going to use the basement. On that far end down there, there's an emergency egress stair. That needs to be rebuilt because I need two ways out of this basement. So a cost item to consider is the refurbishment of that basement stair. And again, we'd be replacing all floor materials. We'd replace mechanical HVAC, all new plumbing, new fixtures, fire protection and fire alarms. We could probably reuse a lot of the fire suppression piping because again, that was put in 2005, but move the heads to where they need to be based on the configuration of your interior space. And then the electrical, that really needs to be a gut job again, because remember, there's 5 services here. What we want is a new single secondary service from DTE, come in on that side of the building, have a new generator, and then, of course, let's incorporate a couple electric car chargers at this site because we're upgrading the electrical, and we can do that. We can have enough power to do that for you. But really, the key problem with this site here is that you're landlocked. There's no place to go to the north. To the west, you've got that daycare center next door. Yeah, but you're right on. You don't have any more property over here. That is your property line. So now let's look at the cost. Next, in your board package, there's a summary sheet, and then it's got all the backup pages to it. And the purpose of the cost estimate was to give you a magnitude of cost. Because maybe you say to me, Jane, is this $5 million or is this $12 million? Give me something to put my arms around. So that's what your cost estimate summary represents, is a magnitude of cost. And remember, it's got all these elements within it that we have to consider if you want to renovate this particular building. So these costs have been developed using industry standards as we've done in the past for you. What that generally means to an architect is I'm using RS Means, which is an estimating guide. I'm also using costs from some of your other projects. When you talk about ceiling costs or carpet costs or square foot costs. And then we also have to factor in that you're using prevailing wage on a job. And then also that municipal projects typically cost more to build than a comparable private build project because you need bonds and insurance, and there's an extra level of administration when you're dealing with a government entity than there is with just a single owner. So all of that factors in to the cost breakdowns that we give you on the subsequent sheets. But if we could just look at the cost summary for a moment. The first section, 1 through 10, you've got construction and general contractor renovation costs. The next section, 11 and 12, we got this temporary office relocation. And again, that's something that has to be factored into this. It's a big dollar item. You know, you've got, let me think here, about 80 people that work in this building. So I need to take 80 people, put them in some lease space in the local area here someplace, maybe for 18 to 24 months. I'm gonna move them over there, right? And then we're gonna bring all the temporary IT and data and communication to that location. Then I'm gonna move all those people back. So I've got, you know, a move in and a move out, plus your lease costs, whatever that might be, wherever that might be. And so we don't want to overlook that is a very large number, but it's a must because you can't stay here. If we want to renovate this, you can't stay here in this building. And then as would be expected, if you want to do design work, there's engineering fees associated with it. And if you would like assistance during the construction, there's that engineering construction effort fee also. So down at the bottom of that summary, I want to make sure you note some of the comments that we have that affect the particular cost also. What I was trying to accomplish was to give you a new interior space. So there's no renovations on the exterior other than new windows and doors. The brick stays. We would just paint anything that's, you know, needs to be painted on the outside, or maybe it's already got aluminum trim on it, we just leave it. But we're not trying to change the facade. We're not taking the brick off. We're not covering the brick over. And then furniture costs aren't included. And that's something that needs to be considered, because if we want to maximize these floor plans, we need to start using modular furniture and create a workstation layout that works for the employees, but is as compact as possible to get you more square footage and more elbow room for people. That's kind of number 3 there when I talk about optimizing the interior space. And then again, we're stuck, you guys, with this parking lot. And then in the cost, I didn't include expanding these restrooms downstairs here, but we could do that. It is possible. You could easily take some of the space out of what's a lunchroom over here right now and give yourself larger restrooms. So that's what I have for Beverly Hills. Are there any questions on Beverly Hills?
So this is probably bizarre to ask, but it seems like what would I'm curious with just like knocking the building down and like making a new one compared to trying to renovate and having like a parking garage or something that to build up, which I'm sure that impacts zoning, but just that was what was going through my mind. It just seems like maybe it would be easier to do.
Right, and that is something we would have to look at in terms of the number of stories that would be allowed in this area. Yep.
Good question.
Yep.
Get a parking garage in here.
Just a couple of them.
Yeah. Go down.
Just go underground parking.
And that way we get rid of the soils that we want to get rid of anyway. So next, how about we look at the PVR offices? Okay. Let me make sure I don't screw this up. There we go. So Waterford PVR, interesting site. It's been around forever and ever and ever. It's older than me. The majority of the office area and related building structure is more than 70 years old. And let me zoom in on this for you. When we say PVR offices, okay, I guess I don't zoom in. It's this leg of the building right here. It's a funny L shape. Here's the entrance, and it's got this little addition guy over here. That's what we call the PVR offices. There is a enlarged floor plan showing both of your garages. This is all your office area right here. and north is this way on the screen versus that area. So this is interesting. We found this set of drawings for this area right here. This is 70 years old, this section. Over here, it's set on those drawings existing. So that area where Mary is, up to permits, that's right here, is over 70 years old, along with its infrastructure, including its plumbing. And then this little guy over here in the corner, that section down there, doesn't appear on any of the drawings. So that got added at some point as construction survey offices. Interior wall, ceiling, and floor materials up here are worn. They're dated. I'm not sure you guys have had the opportunity to tour that building, and I would really, really like to see you do that if you had an opportunity. At some point in time, though, this entire office area was renovated because there were glass transoms at the tops of the walls. They've been covered over with solid panels. Carpeting has been installed over the old asphaltic floor tile. A second acoustical ceiling was installed below the original. So you got 2 layers of ceiling in that building, and the exterior windows were replaced. What I'm calling the construction offices down in the lower right-hand corner here were added on at some point, and there's a little hallway that cuts through there that's only 2'8" wide, which you can't have that. That's too narrow. So that's not a great situation. And then this building also has to be remediated, and it's on a larger scale than this facility, for example, because throughout this entire space, which is 20,300 square feet, you have to take out that original ceiling, you got to take out that original floor. Plus, the mechanical in here was an old boiler system. The boilers were stripped out, but the old piping is still there. It's under the floor and it's above the ceiling. So those types of issues enter into the topic of remediation. Sanitary and storm sewers. This building has had significant sanitary problems. Here's a blow up of that area. For whatever reason, there's 4 sanitary leads out of this building and 2 storm sewers. So if we were going to go after the floor to tear out the sanitary and replace it, we're ripping out a significant portion of the floor to begin with, because you've got sanitary over here, you got sanitary that comes out. Sanitary comes out over here, and I got another sanitary up here. And then 2 storm sewers that come out what is the east side of this building. Here's one of the mouse to sit. There was an instance over by the traffic safety offices where the vent pipe to the urinals rotted out in the wall. And a lot of these walls are masonry block, and the piping is inside it, so it's not real easy to get to. So what RCOC had to do was just rip out all the urinals and rip out the vent pipe, and those urinals were never replaced. But that's just one example. I've seen the toilets are heaved in the floor here. The sanitary up here comes up underneath the toilets. It's not through the wall. So whenever there's a sanitary problem, you're tearing up the floor. You're not going into the wall. You're coming up through the floor, which is a lot more costly. For water mains, there's a fire and water main service, which are separate pipes to this building, which are over here in the garage. And they come into the garage and they serve both garages plus the office. So you don't have separate water main and fire service to just the office. It goes to that entire building, and your water is part of the Oakland County FM&O utility system, and I'll explain the significance of this later, but that's the county's system. You're not on Waterford's system. You're not on Pontiac's system. you're on Oakland County's utility system. For natural gas, you're also on Oakland County's gas system. The only building on that site that's got consumers, direct connection, is the electric shop, because when it was recently built, we weren't gonna tap the county system. We got you a service from consumers instead. For mechanical heating and cooling systems, there are 7 indoor furnaces located in the middle of this building where the old boilers used to be. There's several rooftop condensers, and there's 4 rooftop HVAC units. The components are old and frequently require service. They've been kept running because there was always the anticipation of having a new space, but it's really a lot of parts and pieces that have been band-aided together to keep this operating. There's also no zone control. Each furnace is just on its own, and there's a thermostat in the mechanical room for that particular furnace. And again, as I mentioned, the components of the old boiler heating system are still in the building, and that includes all the baseboard, radiator, and piping, but it's abandoned in place. Then for electrical power, the age of the current equipment, it cannot be original. It can't be, because back in 1970, Oakland County brought you onto their duct bank system. So you are not on a DTE service up there, you are on Oakland County's duct bank, and it looked like the equipment was probably replaced back then. But we would still, in terms of a renovation, we would still replace it, because at this point it's 56 years old. And then you do have a generator up here, but it's a diesel. And if you're going to upgrade and improve that, we would put in a natural gas generator so that you're not having to handle diesel fuel in this location. Fire alarm and sprinkler system, same thing. That was installed in all of your buildings in 2005 after the occurrence of the fire at the Davisburg garage. That's when you sprinkled all your facilities. So it is not 70 years old. It's only about 20 years old. And then the water heater that serves the office area and the showers. And keep in mind, this building has lockers and showers in it. You don't have that here. The water heater is located way back here, and it serves these bathrooms all the way over into the corner of the office area. So by the time the warm water gets there, it's not warm anymore. Now that's not a great location for the hot water heater. I scaled it. It's almost 340 lineal feet from the last set of toilets up by DCS. And then the roof has had numerous repairs. It should be replaced. The main IT network for the entire PVR site originates in the office area here. It's in the server room right there, and then it heads north, right? Mm-hmm. And it's spread out to the rest of your buildings. So if we do something in this location, we need to think about that. We need to take your server system and move it probably into the receiving area. We actually had a plan for that before, to allow you to stay connected while we renovate this end of the building. And then another thing we want to bring to your attention is traffic safety operations are located in this office at the PVR, but keep in mind your traffic operations center is not located here. Located across the road in the building owned by Oakland County, and you pay for that. And then currently, see this trailer right here? There's a survey trailer that's approximately 1,800 square feet. The trailer's out there because you don't have square footage inside this office space for those people. And then I understand there's also 4 to 5 survey supervisors that are located in this building that would really be better located up in the PVR, but there's no space for them. So some of the challenges to this renovation, the obvious issue is the age of this building. And the fact that the office area in its existing footprint, which is 20,300 square feet, doesn't accommodate what you need. That's why we have the trailer. That's why you got these survey people sitting in this building that belong up there. So it doesn't accommodate the traffic operations either. But the one thing that this site has that Beverly Hills doesn't is you have room to expand here. You've got property. You've got all that parking lot. We could move into, this area right here. You have real estate and you own it. So there's opportunity here. Also, just like Beverly Hills, it's infeasible to renovate this and have people located here. So we need to be thinking about this cost of moving you temporarily out and moving you temporarily back in. At this particular site, though, you have a lot of public interaction. So we need to have a location for your people that's close to here, hopefully, because you've got people coming in for permits. You've got people that come in to see DCS. You've got highway maintenance. You want Mary and everybody close to their staff and Daryl's staff. So you don't want to take this group of people at the PVR and move them too far away. And then also, if we move people off of this site, you have fleet vehicles. You have a requirement that those fleet vehicles be secured. So if everybody goes to a temporary location, there has to be the ability to secure your vehicles at that temporary location. So inside our floor plan space, most of the walls are masonry. And that is originally because a lot of the space in this building was a vault. And so they built the interior walls out of masonry for fire purposes and storing stuff, but it's not load bearing. So you can't take them down. It's just really messy. And all the plumbing is inside the masonry walls, so you're not saving that plumbing. That's for sure, plus the age of it. And to renovate the restrooms and showers in here, you'd be tearing down the walls and tearing out the floor anyway, because we got to make that stuff ADA compliant nowadays. The other challenge to this, if you've ever seen this building, is it's real short. It's squat. It's only about 12, 14 feet high. What that results in is a ceiling cavity up there that's only about 10 inches deep. And that's impractical for running mechanical ductwork. It's doable if we were to try and renovate within that space, but we would probably end up having a pretty low ceiling height. A effective ceiling cavity needs to be like 18 to 24 inches because I've got fire suppression piping, I've got ductwork, I've got electrical, light fixtures are about 2 to 4 inches deep, and then I need room to pop the ceiling tile and work. So, 10 or 12 inches isn't gonna cut it. And this building is really kind of short. We also have this funny shape. Right here, this is only 40 feet wide. And the column spacing in here is about a 20 by 20 foot bay. That's not very wide. See this room? This room is about 22 feet wide. So you've got these columns all over the floor plan. Now, we can work with that, but it cuts into your furniture layout. A better floor plan would have a column space of more like 30 by 30 and give you some more elbow room to work with. And it's a strange shape. The L lends itself to exactly what happened here. You got a bunch of corridors. See all the corridors through here? That's about what you're going to get if you put offices on both sides. The only thing I have space for is a corridor down the center. So then one of the last things you have to think about with this is Oakland County wants you separated from their utility system. And that is a significant cost. that you can't ignore. They want you disconnected from their electrical, water main, and natural gas. And so that means those separate utilities need to be brought in from DTE. We bring in Waterford's water, and then Consumers Energy for gas. But what we bring into the site has to also be connected to your other buildings. So when you look at this cost estimate here, it takes into consideration a new water main that basically runs north and south on this property, so it can pick up the other buildings. A gas main, the gas is going to come in off of County Center Drive. And then electrical, DTE would come up County Center Drive and would leave the electrical tie-in at about the same spot your generator is right now. But it's no small item to separate you from the county's utilities, and that's something they've asked for. And it's something that they will ultimately hope that you're working towards. And then given the age of this infrastructure, data, IT, and communications, that needs to be replaced. And something like that maybe could be phased in, but at a minimum, this whole area needs new. So the recommendation we really have is, this is 70 plus years old. It's a funny shape to work with. It's very lightweight construction. I'm not going to be putting a bunch of mechanical units on this roof. So, it's basically obsolete. It's hard to work with and obsolete because it's so old. And it's also not large enough. Remember, we got a trailer out here that's got people in it, and now we got the folks down here that belong up in Waterford. So I came up with a concept of you need a minimum of 25,000 square feet up here to accommodate the trailer and the people that are here. And if we could come up with a orientation on the site plan, you know, that allowed you to like build in this area right here, we could create a floor plan layout that was more effective for you. And then here you've got enough room to rearrange your parking, create a nice entrance. Remember, this is a area where the public does come. So have a nice entrance for DCS and permits. Maybe it's combined somehow, something like that. And then accommodate water mains, natural gas, and electrical. Provide that new generator you're looking for and have our electrical vehicle charging stations. And all these items, again, are reflected in the cost estimate because regardless of what you do, you still have to remediate this building. If you renovate it, you have to remediate it. If you tear it down, you have to remediate it. You've got demo costs if we tear it down, but at the same time, you know, are you tying your hands if you try and reuse this shell? You might be. You know, there might be a point where you get into design and go, oh my God, why did I do this? It would have been better to have a new rectangular shaped building or something like that than to deal with this funny L shape. But to that end, let's look at the cost summary on the next page then that you have there. So based on 25,000 square feet, we've got costs as follows. And here too, we've got a temporary relocation cost. You have room on this site though, right over here, to set up like a trailer complex, something like that. And again, that's a large number, but it would keep everybody on this site. It would allow the public to still come to this address for permits and DCS. And then once all the construction is finished, those trailers go away. But, you know, it's a similar cost to this group of people here needing to be moved into lease space in the local area and then coming back. So no matter what we do, removal of personnel and back to the site is a cost that has to go into this estimate. And then again, you've got a percentage of engineering fees to do this work. And at the bottom, similar commentary regarding furniture is not included in those numbers, and relocating the TOC is not included, but you could do that because again, here you've got the real estate to do it. So you'd have to look at, okay, you're paying XYZ a month right now to Oakland County for that lease space. Would you rather have long-term, the TOC over here on this side of the road with that building? So in summary, these renovations cost the traffic operations center, as I mentioned, and your departments are still located in 2 different buildings. You don't get that co-location desire that you had. There's no room for growth on this site, but there is at the PVR site. And if we're stuck with this particular building and footprint, it doesn't address the needs analysis that was done as part of that timeline over there that looked at each director's current needs and their future needs. And so a renovation isn't going to address that at this particular location anyway, because I don't have the room to really expand. And then this site, again, you've got the issue of the parking lot because it's small to begin with. And then you've just got the fact that a renovation would be a real disruption for probably 2 years, each location. And I don't know if you would like do this at the same time or do one and then the other, but it does cause people to move twice. And those move costs is just money that's being spent. It's not money that went into the value of a new addition up there or a renovation here. It's just money that's basically an expense. So are there any questions about PVR?
What square footage of PVR? 20,000?
The current square footage of PVR is 20,300. And my estimate was based on giving you 25,000 square feet. Remember, no TOC, 25,000 square feet for the office space. That takes in the folks in the trailer, takes in the people here that could be moved up there. They were part of Sam's group. And right now, Gary, I understand there's about 85 employees that are working in what we call this, the office area here.
You talking about here, 85 employees or?
Oh, 85 employees up here. PVR, there's 80 here.
Those are the same.
Yep, yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
What is it in you those? Daryl, or what is TLC? What's the monthly rent?
11,000.
11. How many square feet is that?
It's about 7,000.
7,000.
And how many employees are there? So you almost have about $1,000 per foot, right?
But there's things here that skew that number. The utilities, for example. What I did, if you look at the architectural, I have for the new office, I was using $300 a square foot for construction. Let's pretend it's load-bearing masonry block with a nice brick on the exterior. Commercial space could be, say, $250 a square foot. But remember, we have showers and locker rooms up here, and plumbing costs a lot of money. So you're not going to put plumbing in for the same square foot cost as you are just a regular office space. So I use $300 a square foot, saying to myself, okay, that captures these locker rooms and shower areas that are at a greater square foot cost than just the regular office. I tried to blend a number in order to just get a magnitude of cost for you. This is not $150 a square foot. This is not $200 a square foot. And, we can always look at different types of construction too. It doesn't have to be masonry and block, it could be EFS over steel stud.
You drive it?
Yeah. Insulated metal panels over steel frame, you know, things like that.
ACM panels, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to give you a low number and then we think about a different type
That's
of,
a high number.
we don't give you a, yes, it is, yes.
So we own this building. That space we're renting, and there's space across the street from what we're talking about renovating. So the renovations include bringing the people from across the street over, as well as the people from Beverly Hills.
I know it doesn't.
Okay. And it sounds like if they own that building, the things that are like needed for remediation and things like that, is there like a shared cost plan where?
We own them.
We own it. We own them both.
Okay.
This is the building where the yard is and all that.
Okay, understood.
TOC is we're renting space from the county with the TOC.
Square feet.
Okay.
Have we looked at, other structures in the road commission, like lean-tos to keep our equipment protected?
Yeah, that's in the conversation, but we've developed, I know where this is going because you were at Milford. But
I was at all of them. And everyone I went to, everything's parked outside, we spend hundreds of dollars on equipment, and we need to protect it. And I don't think we're looking at the garages, and
we've talked to the superintendents pretty consistently. And just to give you a little bit more history here, before we even got to the administration building, we looked and we talked internally, says, you know what we need the most is a new electrical shop. We need to renovate our sign shop area and get our testing folks on the trailer. That was the focus. So we talked to our districts, and it's not just a lean-to for trucks. If you're gonna build something, we're gonna build something where you can put trucks in.
yeah, and put the offices right, I visualize, build that big structure and put the offices right with it. We got the land, you know?
I guess I don't understand what you're saying.
If you want a bigger place where you put the trucks aside, we can look at that and get a cost analysis. And then
It's all-
have the trucks parked aside, and then have the offices that we need, add on a little bump out on that, you know, like
But we're talking about a lean-to at Milford.
I'm talking about all the facilities. All the facilities need a lean-to. You go to any of your garages, how many trucks are parked outside?
Everybody has trucks parked outside, absolutely. And was it cost effective to put everyone under a roof? That's pretty expensive. But, so let me understand, so what I'm hearing is, forget all this.
I didn't say that.
Oh,
I did not say that. I did not say that. I just asked if we looked at this other stuff.
Yes, we have.
All right, well, I wasn't sharing with us, myself, you know.
That was done before you. That's consistent that we talked to them. When we
By all means, we're exploring this, and let's explore this too. I mean,
Well,
this is something that,
we can
by all
talk
means,
about
if it
But-
makes sense, it makes sense, you know.
Every year when we go through financial plan, the directors bring their requests, then that's discussed. And then things are prioritized. So we can't do it all. So you want costs on it, we'll get costs. But I don't understand the lean-to with offices, that I don't.
Well, I said lean-tos, then you said that we're gonna do it, we're gonna build that inside.
Well, a lean.
For everything, if you do that, do it all at once then, you know, that's all I said.
A lean-to isn't gonna give in my view, the proper protection for some of the equipment we need to protect.
Is it Director of Central Operations and Facilities, Grounds and Facilities are part of my operations. Just for some background, I've worked here since 1989 on and off, so a long time. I spent 10 years in a trailer outside of construction. as construction engineer, working in a trailer full-time around year-round, 10 years. And I now work in a building that's over 70 years old. Or they can't even track how old it is. So yes, we literally, and I know I know you know I'm passionate about buildings, but this is where me and my coworkers work every day. We come in and give everything we, have to make this a good place to work. Same as every hourly employee works in the district. We've now got these estimates. I know last year you decided not to build the new building. We've now got these estimates for renovation, which together approximately $30 million. And we had a $37 million new building plan for the PVR site in a spot where we wouldn't have to move employees back and forth to temporary housing. And we've spent all that. We've got the design. We've spent $10 million on that. So there's not a huge, is there even 30 million left to finish that project? I don't know at this point, but it's worth considering. And I know you had your reasons last year for making the decision you did, but it's worth considering if that's worth taking another look at, going back into that and saying, hey, we've already got a design, complete design's been paid for, $1 million, would you say, Jane, in design? Everything put together exactly how we need it, separate utilities, parking design that doesn't include using any of these old buildings. I mean, you could sell this whole property in Beverly Hills and move into a new building all at once. Just food for thought, because I might not be here very long. I probably won't be, but everyone around this table deserves to work in a decent place. Thanks. Thanks for listening.
No, thank you for your input.
Is there any estimate on like the value of this property, what you might be able to get for it if you were to sell it?
About $2 million.
Right around $2 million.
Okay.
And the village of Beverly Hills was interested in buying it.
Okay, and then the PVR space, so like if there were a new building, would that space be rented out this hours, or will we sell that too?
No, that's our main operations center. We would just take the front end of the building off.
Yeah.
Park, we need.
Yeah, makes a lot.
When we had the one building plan, we were just going to leave that front there for some storage, if we had some training opportunities, when we have some interns, and we were going to wait to remediate that.
So you realize these two buildings are approximately 40-some-odd thousand square feet. Correct?
Yeah, actually.
Accommodating,
Yes,
let's call it 50,000.
it's 50, yeah.
The new building was about 100 and.
That was with the basement.
That was including the
The
basement.
new building was 70,000 square feet without the basement. And remember, it had the TOC in it, so you got that 9 footers too.
And it was planned for growth as we grow additional employees.
Mm-hmm.
60 to 70 is the difference.
Mm-hmm.
10,000 square feet, and that allows the growth that we're talking about. We don't have here now.
So there's a need. I mean, something's got to be done. I mean, that's for sure. You guys made many cases of that, and I'm not disagreeing with any of that. We just got to come up with a plan.
Have we quantified it all or tried to put a number around the non-construction remediation expense? So be like morale, not having the cohesiveness of being able to be together, the disruption in work if you have to like move your office space to somewhere else, the retention issues with people who might just be like, where if you move the building somewhere else, it's out of they might just go somewhere else. Like, is there any list of those potential expenses or costs to consider as things? Because, I mean, obviously the numbers, we can look at that and kind of determine what makes sense as far as not expending as much money for the building or whatever, the renovations. But what about like the people element of it? Is there a narrative or a way to kind of quantify that expense? You lose productivity if you're gonna like move your office somewhere else, your feng shui is off, like, we have a lot going on here. So I'm just curious about that.
Just the directors coming down here today.
Well,
Go ahead,
well,
Darrell.
I was gonna say, I think there's more employees that would rather be centrally located within the county than living north in Orion to have drive all the way down to Beverly Hills.
Okay.
I think there's more of those than people that would complain about the building saying their drive is long. That's just from conversations I've had with people.
Go ahead, Joan.
If I may also add, I've heard from employees, multiple employees who wouldn't accept jobs at BH because it's too far of a drive, like they said, from like from your Logan County.
North End, you're saying.
Right, exactly. Even positions that they would want to accept here, they go vacant. Or that, you know, we have to go external because our internal candidates who were interested wouldn't drive as far. And then we also have, you know, it was a morale issue to have building campus. A lot of our employees were excited to be together. Yeah. Just myself this week, I traveled twice. And that's just one person out of the HR staff. That doesn't include our recruiter, our training and development specialist who constantly are traveling to have to. Michael, right.
It would be helpful to like document those things because that should be included in the decision because it's hard to get people and keep people. And so that involves like the culture and all of that. And so even though I know everybody just cares about the numbers and how much does it cost, but there is a cost to your work culture and the work environment. And so oftentimes that doesn't get calculated in, and then you end up having consequences of not incorporating that. And that is definitely going to impact our bottom line and ability to do what we do. I'm not saying that's going to make a difference either way, but it should be documented. One thing for you to tell us, and it's obviously probably maybe a part of the meeting minutes. There's another thing for us to have, clarity on those issues that the employees have. And I'm sure that there's reports and data that will support what does it do to morale when people have to move and productivity, which is even more important. You've got engineers and people that have to do their jobs, and it's going to take away to have people moving more than one time. It's one thing when you're moving once, but you got to move into a temporary space, which could be who knows where. There's a lot of uncertainty. As a person, I'm more of an entrepreneur, but uncertainty bothers me. And so most people who have a job, they have it because they want consistency. And people spend a lot of time at work. And so I think it would add value to have some type of report or something written that incorporates that information to include it in making the decision.
Go ahead, Gary. This process has evolved over a long period of time. Everything you mentioned and questioned right now has all been considered. We don't do a report on everything we do. Sometimes it's a meetings together and we sit down, we discuss things and make decisions and move on. And because so many of us have been here a long time, we have all that information and we get that you don't have it all in front of you. Mm-hmm. But these were all what evolved into the decisions, the building decision that we made. Mm-hmm. All these decisions were thoroughly thought through, and we don't have dollar cost of what necessarily to some of this stuff, but we knew that being together had a massive value to it. We knew if you renovated at these costs and move all these people around, you can almost get a new building for the same thing. It just doesn't make, it comes to a point where just logically you're looking at things and evolving through decision-making processes that the right way is in front of you. And you make decisions as you go. We were stopped a couple of times. We had to restart again. So this stuff is all back in there. I think we got to an answer that went through all of these evolutions and got to that spot. It feels like And we don't have it all in front of us, but it's all there, and we can work together to get a report that's going to say it, but it's not going to be, at the end of the day, renovating buildings like this just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, there's no value in it. And the disruption that's going to go on with it, and the morale that it's caused and issues when you've gone so far down the road for this direction, and then to pull it out, it's hard to recruit, it's hard to get people on the same page, the departments that are split up, it just, there's just intrinsic value that you can't even put a number to it there. And I think to think that we didn't go through all this stuff, I guess, is concerning when we did a lot of thought, a lot of people put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this to get to this point to make it the right way. We can't, all of our facilities need something.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
I agree with you 100%.
But you can't do them all at once, okay? And you have to pick off your most important, prioritize, which we did. We did the hospital facilities and those other trailers and the testing facilities. And then we knew the next most important, looking at all of our facilities, was getting the one building and getting these two buildings taken care of, and the TOC. For our employees, which is 40% of our employees, okay? And then we knew the next step would be going out to the garages and looking at those and it's an evolution over time to keep. There's no point in looking at the garages now when you're not going to be doing anything for 3 to 5 years at least. You have to get this other building done first because so many things change. But we know the needs are there, and then we'll go out to the next one. We just keep moving along in this process, but we prioritize from the beginning, and then we're making our way through this. But we can't get to the end without getting to, we can bite off this elephant one bite at a time, as they say. And right now, for example, if that building was going up, okay, we'd be in that building in end of this year, okay? We'd be having these conversations about what to do with the next buildings now, with our outlying buildings, and prioritizing which of those buildings to do the work and what type of work needed to be done. But now we're back, and we're not there yet. Now we're back again. Mm-hmm. And that backward step is what we want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't here at the time that those things were, so I don't know what information was provided to make that decision. Just make whatever decisions led us to the pause, right? I don't know that there was more conversation around outside of just the building expenses. If the people conversation was had to the people who were making a decision to stop it, not that you guys didn't think about those things. So that's something that's like a common occurrence to me when I'm asking questions, because I'm drinking from a fire hose right now. And I want to do my due diligence, and I want to do, I want to fulfill my duties, and I can't just be like, oh, well, they said such and such. It's not that I don't trust anybody, but I'm responsible. My name is on front of the building. And so in feeling that responsibility, that's why I'm asking this question. So don't think that it's that I don't think you did your due diligence, but did that information get to folks in a way that it could be disseminated and incorporated in the here? So those are just questions that I have because I am new and I don't know. And do we have the understanding of the value of the human component and the culture component in that equation? Because historically, we've always been looking at numbers, right? And we don't always look at how those things that we can't put a number to impact us in the long run. And so even though I'm not saying, like, give us a number, it's going to be a $5 million impact on us because of the people, you couldn't possibly do that, but we could potentially paint a picture to make a more informed decision. And I know that's something that I'm going to need if it's something we have to have
We can provide the minutes from some prior board meetings where a number of the employees addressed the board about that issue.
Okay.
Provide those minutes. And getting back to like the garages. Southfield needed a garage, so we built a garage so they could put vehicles in. We saw that need because Southfield garage is small, so we did. I just wanted to know
how long ago was that?
About 8 years ago.
8 or 10 years ago.
Throw COVID in.
What? 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's probably
when we had the water main break at the truck garage. Now, we could have just tried to scab and replace an office on, but when we looked at it, we said, you know what? We want to do something good for the employees there. So that's going to cost us more money, but let's do the right thing for the employees. So as we go through this, we look at the big picture And sometimes I get the feeling the board doesn't value what we've done in the past. That's the way I take it. That's all I got.
I think we have a communication problem. And I think that, you know, I think as a board, I'd be concerned about the public opinion because they don't get all the details. And so, you know, everything could be well thought out and planned, but if the public is looking like, okay, well, our roads aren't, you know, like the gentleman who came in here who's upset that his road isn't being plowed and it was 2 days, like they don't get that picture. And I would, at least me, being new, you know, I need enough information that if someone comes to me, the press comes to me saying, well, how can you approve a $75 million building in X, Y, X, Y, Z? I want to be empowered to be able to formally educate them and provide the communication that supports why that was made. And me saying, oh, you know, the directors and everyone who's over the department, over the commission, they did their due diligence, and trust me, this is in the best interest. I would want to be empowered to be able to articulate that accurately. So, you know, I don't get the impression that that's the case here.
But if I could just say, we had a lot of discussions internally of how we communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a lot of messaging planned. We were ready to do that. One of the key messages was just what you've heard today, that the cost of renovating our existing buildings was almost as much, not including the human cost, as building a new building. That was part, and that the current buildings are obsolete, they're failing, they're flooding, roofs are leaking. All that messaging was ready to go. We had that. Is before you were on board, so, and by the time you came on board, that was no longer the case. But those, again, were things we gave a lot of time and effort and work to be prepared for.
That we weren't sacrificing any projects, that we had saved money, that.
It was not road money that was being used for the buildings.
Any other discussions regarding the report from Alva Roth, Clark?
Is now exiting.
I just want to say thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I have to follow everything.
Yeah, it's good to see the numbers on the paper. Good, well done. Okay. Do we need just a presentation? Item 19, is there any new business?
I have none.
I want to thank Mary for sharing the follow-up information from the question that I had last time, and apologize for my late response because it was like in my outbox, and I was like, I didn't hear back from her. Like, geez,
No, that's fine. I'm like, I wonder if she got that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
But
that.
thanks,
It was very timely too. It was like the next day or something. So thank you.
You have anything else?
No, that's it.
Jim, you have anything, sir? I'd just like to commend the road commission on the PR that they put out. Seems to be, I just noticed a lot more. Maybe it's me, but I do see you out there. On Facebook, Instagram, the news. So thank you for that. And reporting, you know.
Thank you. I see you on the news too. I saw you this morning.
Is now exiting.
Yeah.
All right, no other communication? New business, next meeting will be February 12th. Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You know, I was like, start that. What's going on?
Oh, I know.
Oh, they have. I work with papers. It's nice to. It's just I'm lost.